Welcome to Inside Games Daily, the only gaming news show brave enough to still want an Xbox ROG Ally after seeing the leaked price.
Yeah, it's a bit of a kick in the dick, though. It's a pounding to a tender region, I'll say that. But it's also leaked, so it may not be real. Regardless, Spanish game site 3D Juegos reported what appeared to be leaked European prices for this upcoming Xbox handheld.
Yeah, the base model is listed at €600, while the Xbox Ally X has a price of €900. Converted into USD, since we're Americans, and we talk about America here, that's all we do. That's $700 for the standard and $1,050 for the X.
Oh, God. That takes the wind out of your sails, doesn't it? 4 digits for a portable handheld. I mean, of course, if it were going to be retailing that in the US, it'd be $999, but still, that earns the preliminary, of course, but it earns the ROG, the ROG Xbox Ally, the ignominious title of being the most expensive Xbox ever, handheld or otherwise. Ugh.
That is too much. Now, to be fair, this handheld is also a full PC. It is. But that makes the base model almost twice as expensive as the cheapest Steam Deck, which is currently $400. It's a steal.
And that's also a full PC, just not the most friendly one if you want to actually put Windows on it. But you can. And that, going tech is kind of a whole PC thing. But okay, all right, to be fair, sort of. The ROG Xbox Ally will probably dwarf the Steam Deck in performance, at least the Ally X will. But given how mobile hardware is these days, it's really hard to tell exactly what it'll perform like until we actually see benchmarks and software running on it.
Yeah, it's even a significant jump over the current Ally line. The Ryzen Z1 model retails for $500 and the Z1 Extreme for $650, and that's just the standard ROG Ally. That's like basically a little PC in your hand.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let's question the leak itself. Is it trustworthy? Is it reasonable? The screenshot captured by 3D Juegos appears to be results from, Google Shopping. If you ever Google a product and it shows you like little cards for the prices and the products. The store that it's referencing is the Asus store by MacMan.
Okay. MacMan is the official Asus store located in Barcelona. So at least that adds up a little bit. The store's website already has product pages up for both ROG Xbox Ally models too. So that's okay. We're lending a little credence to the leak.
Yeah, and makes it more likely that Google would attach a price to it and list it in search results. So it is possible that the MacMan store added the prices in a non-visible part of the website, but Google scraped it anyway and just listed that price with the search result. Or they just made up prices because who knows, maybe their backend requires prices and the person just made up a number and punched it in. And Google found that and decided to list it in a search result.
True. But does this leaked price make sense? Unfortunately, yes, it does, actually. With the launch date still unannounced, it's also possible that Xbox and Asus have not set a final price for either model, but what we're looking at here, it's probably going to be around there.
Yeah, especially with how pricey electronics have gotten and will get. I guess the question mark is, would Xbox be willing to subsidize this hardware to get it in people's hands? Because Valve certainly seems like they are with how cheap the Steam Deck is. I think it would be in their interest, but I also think the tolerance for Xbox to burn money to acquire market share is kind of gone at this point. I think we've seen that reflected in how they're cutting down their workforce by a fair amount. But also, they're raising prices now and things like that. I think they see PC as the vector to grow, and we might see some price break there, but probably not much.
But hold on, Lawrence. PC Gamer notes that European prices can be the highest of most world regions, all right? Lawrence, it maybe not so bad.
Yeah, this sucks for Europe, but you can see this effect by looking in the same shop that supposedly leaked these Xbox Ally prices.
That's right. MacMan lists the ROG Ally Z1 Extreme at €700. That converts to about $820, which is well over its actual US price here, what they sell it for $650.
Oh, so we have a couple of data points.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? I hear something in the distance, something carried on the wind. The distant honk of a clown horn. It's coming, that's right, it's time for a small dose of clown math. So going off these prices and ignoring literally everything else, and it's a complicated world out there, the European price, just on the Z1 Ally Extreme, was marked up 26% if you convert it all to US dollars. So if we discount those rumored European prices back the other way, we get US prices of $518 and $777, respectively, for the ROG Xbox Ally models, and those are much more friendly.
Wow, that's like way friendlier than what we quoted earlier. So here's the real question, Lawrence. It's speculation time in our episode. We get to guess what we think, let's say the base model and then the higher end model cost here in the US, because I think it's coming out soon. I want to say this thing's going to be coming out soon.
That's so tough because, and I've said this before, but I have yet to see the market, and at least in the United States, turn their backs on something because it's too expensive. And that's kind of scary and upsetting, and I wish they would so that prices would stop going up. But I think if your primary comparison on the market, like units you can buy off a store shelf, I think if you're gonna sit next to the Switch 2, you could probably ask $550 or $600 for the base ROG Xbox Ally, and then maybe like $800, $850 for the Ally X. The problem is, so there's so many question marks, and really it's going to come down to, can Xbox educate people about what this unit can supposedly do? And we're not even really sure the extent of that yet. But if it truly is like a full PC with no caveats, with no because the Steam Deck, even though it's pretty easy to use, it's still pretty tinker heavy. Wattages and frame rates and all that stuff. If they can find a way to make a version of Windows 11 that is not that is essentially the Switch 2. You turn it on, you get a grid of games, you pick the one you want to go, and that grid can be populated by anything on PC, and it runs it all really well, even modern games. If they can manage to make a device that does that and also educate people about that properly, I think $600 is a pretty reasonable ask for a hardware unit like that. I think people would be willing to try it. But that's such a complicated message, I think, and I don't know if people are going to get it unless it actually does function like that and they actually put their hands on it and use it.
I completely agree with you. I actually think 600 is a sweet spot here for exactly that base model. And then, in my opinion, with the more expensive model, they could charge whatever they want. They could go to 1,000. They could go to, really, honestly, at that point, they could be like, well, if you can't afford the high-end one, just buy the cheap one. But I am really worried because they did just raise prices on the standard Xbox to $600 for the Series X, which blew everybody's mind. We were all like, why are they doing that? So since they just did that, I'm worried that the base model is going to be $700. I think the base model is going to be $700, and I really hope, like you were saying earlier, Lawrence, I don't know the tolerance they have to lose money on their hardware for as long as they can lose money on it. So I'm worried that Satya Nadella at Microsoft is like, absolutely not. You're maybe we'll lose $50 on this thing per unit at most, or it's a break-even venture. So I think it's probably going to be $700 for base model, which to me is like just on the cusp of saying don't ever buy this thing. It's going to be great. I'm actually very excited to try this and use it and play games on it. I really am. I just don't. $700 is so much to ask for, like what you said, where they have to market the thing, they have to tell everybody what it does. Nobody knows that this is a purchase that they're going to make. Like the Switch 2 is the easy one, right? Like it's $450, it's more expensive, but you already know what the Switch does. You already know what a Nintendo Switch 2 does. You have no idea what this thing's going to do. So I'm begging Xbox. This is like me when I do with Battlefield. I was like, been begging Battlefield for years. Put a free-to-play out along with your game. So I'm going to beg Xbox. Make the thing $500. Satya Nadella. You're a fucking billionaire, whatever it is. You get a 880 million paycheck every fucking year. Scrape a little off for us. Put it into the hardware. Make it $500 and you'll sell a billion of these things.
Yeah, it's potentially a place that Xbox could get a foothold on PlayStation. I mean, the Switch 2's already out there, already found that market, I guess. Steam Deck is swimming in that wake admirably. So Xbox is kind of arriving late, but yeah, if they can convince people, I guess what I think what it'll take is a video showing somebody turning the thing on, and then it goes to your game selection maybe within a second and a half or something like that. If they can do that, that's great. And then that grid has an Xbox game, a Steam game, a game with an installer like Warframe or Final Fantasy 14 or something, Genshin, just like
PlayStation game.
Yeah, or Ghost of Tsushima or something. and then just one after another. They just launch each one in a sequence, and you see the flow, and you see how easy it is, and then it's like, oh, okay, all right. And yeah, people still get hung up, I think, on legacy Xbox console games, but I don't know that like being able to play Fusion Frenzy. I can't even say the name. I don't know that would be a cool marketing beat for the millennials that remember that stuff. But in terms of actual usability, I think if they can nail that, I think even better if they put out just freely distribute, which it's Microsoft, so this is unlikely, but if they find a way to distribute whatever like trimmed down gamer version of Windows they put on this thing, that would also go a long way to convince the tech heads, I think, because then they could just install that on their desktops and see how it works, and then realize, okay, I'm starting to wrap my head around what I think this thing's supposed to be. Ugh, but that's so much. And how do you communicate that on a box? I don't know that you really do. Yeah, I'm really fascinated to see how they market this thing.
Well, what you're describing is the job of a reviewer. We need to see reviews. We need to see reviews from PC Gamer and from like us and like everybody else that actually play this thing and can tell you what it does. Because marketing, whatever, marketing's fine. We maybe don't trust it. We maybe do trust it a little bit. But reviews from people we do trust, that's how they're going to convince people. This is going to be a word of mouth machine. This is not going to be, I don't know that it's going to sell crazy as soon as they release it, unless it's like at a very low price point.
Yeah, that remains to be seen. I don't see that happening, unfortunately, because when it comes to low price points, Steam Deck has already got that. So I don't know. And also, weirdly, low prices didn't seem to help the Series S, which it was like the budget console, but that was also at the exact moment that everybody had loads of cash and were looking to buy the biggest, best thing for their quarantine household. So who knows? Another timeline, and the Series S may have done a lot better. So I would think that maybe like targeting price for market expansion would be their strategy, but I think they tried that and got really bit by it. Didn't help them at all. So yeah, there's a lot that's kind of like rattling around in my head, and I'm really curious what approach they're going to take.
Me too, Lawrence. I stand by the fact that it's going to be $700 for the base, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Speaking of seeing and looking into the future, it's time to go to Law's Preview Corner once again. This, for the first time, is not a preview that I played at Summer Game Fest. This is one in which I just got approached randomly because the person was like, hey, this seems like a game you'd be into, and guess what? They were right, because this game is called Grebles. It is a cyberpunk flight narrative game. Think about like maybe Wing Commander, or more recently Everspace 2 or Star Wars Squadrons. But essentially the entire game, you're in the cockpit of a ship flying around this futuristic floating cyberpunk city. You play as an elite cop in a Skyblade, and basically you go around finding runaway androids and blasting them, or finding all kinds of crooks and shooting them out of the sky. What I like about it is just, being able to punch through a cloud layer up and seeing the moon and all these skyscrapers kind of poking through these roiling clouds, and then flying down under it and seeing all these interweaving lanes of flying cars and lit neon signs. It's all very Y2K and aesthetic. That's a real video game moment. And in a preview, that's kind of what it operates on. But that was some magic stuff. So that's where my soul belongs, is in floating cyberpunk cities. The game itself, though, seems to have an open structure where you can go around and do side missions or pick up side hustles to get more credits to upgrade your ship. The reason I wanted to talk about it on the show is this is one of those kinds of games that I really like that they don't make a lot of anymore. Just like narrative mission-based flight games. Who knows? It's still in. It doesn't really have a release date announced yet, so it's coming sometime in 2025. So I'm not quite sure what the full scope of it'll be. The blurb on Steam mentions something about you finding out that maybe you're working for the bad guys, being a cyber cop. So I'm sure eventually you'll get hooked up with some kind of rebellion, and I don't know, damn the man, topple the system, all that stuff. Who cares if it's a trope, because it's awesome and I love it. So I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to dive in there and fly around. So there it is, Grebles. Check it out on Steam. They just had a playtest, actually, which is what this was a part of. So it's coming along and looks great. This looks awesome. It looks like Ace Combat in Cyberpunk. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super rad. We'd also like to shout out a couple of patrons to support the Inside Games Patreon every single month. They're brave enough to support the show directly despite the eye-wateringly expensive electronics that continue coming out and people continue buying. I don't know why, but they do. John Warren Gallardi and Jack Willis, thank you very much.